Yeah, I like red letters over trap beats, the fixes. Yeah, music blasting for the black sheep, yeah, it's serious. They like how you build and still breaking all their barriers. Ooh, 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 ooh. Tell them turn me up. DJ Focus, Dice Gamble. This one for the hustlers. This one for the CEOs that used to be the customers. Knew it was gonna be big when winning season seemed impossible.
Welcome back. DJ Focus, Dice Gamble. You tap back into the fix, your source for faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry. Listen, y'all know what time it is. It's time for our spiritual detox. And when I tell y'all, y'all in for a treat today. We talk about media moguls and movers and shakers who have been doing powerful things in our space. We love everything media, everything broadcasting, visuals, music. Listen, he does it all. He's built stuff up from the ground up. And I'm excited to have a conversation with him to share not only everything he's doing dope on his platform, but as well, talk a little bit about faith and spirituality and everything else that goes into it. So without further ado, help me welcome in the one and only Mr. REVOLT TV himself, Detavio Samuels. What's going on, brother?
Peace, King. Thank you for having me, man. It's good to see you.
Likewise. Appreciate you, man, hopping on with us, man. And I just want to give you your roses, man. You've been putting the work in. Anybody who knows anything, when you talk about radio and media and broadcasting, like, this is not an easy profession we're in. So when man like you and inspire us to continue to keep going, because you are a success story, brother. So I want to highlight you today. But first, come on, man. One thing maybe some people might know about you, but I think a lot of people more need to know about you. Share a little bit of your faith journey with the people, man. Maybe how you developed your personal relationship with Christ.
Yeah, first and foremost, I appreciate you just starting the conversation there, anchored in faith. There's not too many, I do interviews all the time, and there's not too many opportunities where that's the lead question. When I think about my faith, ultimately, I always think that I grew up in the church, right? So both my parents, my father, and my mother, even though we're not in the same house, they were both big believers. But when I think about my own personal faith, so much of that, like, I am my mother's child. My mother was a woman that was waking up at 5 a.m. praying for an hour and a half for her children every day. She was a woman that was in church 3-4 times a week. She's the one who taught me the difference between church and religion and having a real relationship with God. And so that's how I get my start. And then I think you always have to get to a point in time in your spiritual journey where it becomes not your parents' relationship with God and not your parents' faith, but your own faith. And I developed my own faith. I started going on that journey probably around 25, 26, 27 years old when I was in Detroit underneath the leadership of an incredible man named Apostle Coleman. And so that's where my faith really becomes my own. And since then, I've just been diving deep, trying to get closer and closer and closer to him. And I would say that now where I sit at 42 years old, my relationship with God, my relationship with Christ has never felt as strong as it does right now.
Thanks for sharing that. What are some of the spiritual regimens that you do to keep your balance and keep your spirit man intact? Like, are you one that needs to sit and meditate every morning? Are you one that's praying? Are you studying every morning? Share a little bit of that with the people too as well.
Yeah, look, man, I'm a big believer. So at my core, like, I think everybody has to know how their spirit works at their core. At my core, I am a worshiper. That's why when we got on this call, you heard worship music in the background. Like, that is my fuel. That is my joy. That is my happiness. Like, I praise and I worship God. So that is core. But then, of course, I pray. I pray in English. I actually, honestly, pray a lot in tongues. I know a lot of people don't believe in tongues, but my point of view on tongues is, even if you don't believe that it is a spiritual language, the idea that you don't have to have the right words when you talk to your God, the idea that you can just mumble words and he knows your heart and your spirit, is actually a very freeing thought. And so often in our spiritual journey and prayer, we don't know what to say. And so I pray a lot in tongues. I do church. I sit underneath the leadership of TD Jakes, who I think is one of the most brilliant minds on the planet today. And so all of these are things that I do daily. They're things that I do weekly. I do daily Bible study. And then one thing that I'll actually give you that I've never said before is I honestly spend a lot of time, and I don't know if this is the right way to say it or the right place to say it, but I spend a lot of time forgiving my Christian brothers and sisters. And I do that because I say that we have become more known for our politics than our love. And for me, that makes my job our job, those people who are just trying to simply show people to God and show them his love, it makes that job more difficult. And so I find that what can sometimes for me become a spiritual impediment is my frustration with the way that we behave and the way that we show ourselves to the world. And so I also spend a lot of time just making sure that I am operating in love, forgiving anything that I see out there in the world that feels counter to my own beliefs and counter to what I believe is going to be critical in terms of leading people to Christ.
Listen, I'm glad you brought that up because we would be the ones that get a lot of flack too as well. Where I pray for them too as well because I like to bring on not only successful moguls like you, but also some just regular artists and allow for them to share their faith journey. And you'd be surprised how many emails, how many text messages I get. We just had Project Pat on not too long ago, and Project Pat had an opportunity to come share his faith and his journey. And so many people, he's not in our space. Why you got him on the thing? I say because we need to continue to have these conversations. Just because he's in the mainstream hip hop and he's not in faith-based or Christian hip hop doesn't mean he's not a believer. And I think the church for so long has passed judgment without allowing for building relationships to hold each other accountable. So we want to hold everybody accountable to the same standards we believe, but do we even know if they believe the same thing we believe?
You speaking nothing but heat to me, right? Like it blows my mind that we want to lead people to God by telling them what to do. In fact, I think it's a very outdated model, right? When I think about the Bible over time, what it says in the Old Testament is God gave us the law, and the law was to show that we could never get it right. Man would never get the law right, trying to get to him through the law. So then he gave us Christ. But today, we as Christians spend so much of our time trying to use the law to dictate and tell people how to live, how to behave, instead of doing, I loved your word in the beginning, the work. Are you showing them his love? Are you showing them his grace? And then to the note that you made about Project Pat, if you study Christ, Christ wasn't spending all of his time in the church with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Christ was outside. He was in the streets with the prostitutes, with the whores, with the whatever, right? And so for those people who feel more comfortable bragging about a relationship where all they do is go to church on Sunday at 10 a.m. and meet with people who agree with what they believe, but aren't doing the work of the kingdom, which is to build the kingdom up and bring people to him, I don't understand that thinking or that mindset.
Listen, we praying for him. Listen, we got to go to a quick break. We coming. Yeah, no, that's all we gonna do is pray for him. We got to go to a quick break. We coming right back. Keep it locked. You tuned into The Fix. You know The Fix is in.
Holy Culture Radio. We're not just background noise. We play the music that inspires you because every song has a story. Christian hip hop and R&B music and talk on SiriusXM channel 154, 24 hours a day. Holy Culture Radio is changing the game. Discussions about faith, arts, vocation, and education. We talk about the real issues that affect our communities and work together to find solutions. Join the discussion at holyculture.net and be heard.
Welcome back, DJ Focus. You tap back into The Fix, your source of faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry. We got Mr. REVOLT on with us today, Detavio Samuel. So come on, man, talk about it, man. You know, I want to know how you balance it all. Let's be very clear. You are a exec who has, for well over a decade, been in corporate America, and you have a unique leadership style, the way you present everything. Talk about that a little bit, just your leadership style and just balancing everything you've done. Listen, the list is so long, I can't even go over. You done worked everywhere. You done started stuff, started something else and started something else. So just talk about how do you do it all? How do you balance it all? And talk about your unique leadership style.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I believe that what I've developed in terms of my key to doing as much as I'm able to do really comes down to a self-care routine, some of which you talked about, right? And so a big part of my self-care routine is my relationship with God, and that keeps me healthy. But then there are other things that I do. I swim every single day, at least every single day that I'm at home. I tend to get massages at least once a week. I eat well. Right now, I'm pretty much 95% plant-based. Maybe I have a little bit of fish here and there, right? So I'm doing all of the things that I can to opt.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. You said you I thought you aren't you from Jamaica? Like, don't you no more? No.
Yeah, man. I do a little Jamaica, but recently I switched over, man, and like my body has never felt healthier. My body has never felt better, and so for my thing, if my job is to accomplish the assignment that God has put me here on earth to do, then I have to optimize my body and the machine that He's given me, right? And so, in all things, I'm trying to make sure am I getting to sleep? Am I eating the right way? So often we pray to God and ask Him for things that He has already given us the answers to do. My body was sitting in inflammation for years. It was difficult to even sit in situations sit like this for long periods of time. The answer was in my diet. I didn't need to pray about that. God gave me the answer. I can fix it myself, right? So, anyways, for me, it's always about trying to find and identify those things that help me optimize my machine so that I can accomplish the assignment that I believe that I'm here to do.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna be full transparent. You got to be careful when you pray for something. I've been praying for God to help me on my fitness journey, and you come on here and you talk about giving that, and that was one of the things I was thinking about giving up was so much of the oxtail, so much of the curry chicken and stew that I eat, because as we get older, let's be very clear, a lot of the seasoning spices is not good for us when you talk about hypertension and diabetes. So yeah, listen, thank you, Lord. I receive it. Listen, I just want to say I receive it. And he didn't even know that. And so that's why I'm telling y'all that's straight God right there. I prayed that this morning, and he come on here talking about health. So that's my confirmation. Thank you, Jesus. Um, so listen, talk about it, man. As being the CEO of Revolt, what strategies are you implementing to shift the global narrative around Black people through the world's largest ecosystem for Black storytelling, which you do so well?
Yeah, thank you, brother. For us, it all comes down to one singular idea, which is about owning our own narrative. For Black people all over the world, unfortunately, for centuries, not since the beginning of time, but for the last 500, 600 years, have never owned our own story. We have never owned our own narrative. And so what that means is that how the world perceives Black people has always been presented through the lens of somebody who is an outsider, through the lens of somebody who doesn't come from within our community. And so often we know that those who don't come from within our community see us as savages, as monsters, as less than, as third class citizens, right? And so then the job of Revolt is to start to shift that narrative, to change that narrative, to put, first and foremost, to put Black people in control of their own storytelling, because the best people to tell our stories are people who come from inside of the community. So that's the key piece. How many, and then the other piece of it is multiple voices. So you will never see that Revolt is a singular person's network, right? No hate, no shame, no whatever the BET, but it is largely a Tyler Perry network, right? All good for that strategy. Our strategy is the opposite. If you want to showcase who Black people are, you have to allow as many Black people to tell their view of who we are as possible, right? And so we are all about owning our narrative. We're all about partnering and working with creatives who have brilliant ideas, who can then share their lens and perspective with the world. And ultimately, we believe that when we get people to see us differently, then we will get people to treat us differently. We believe that when Black people start to see ourselves as the kings and the queens that we are, when the only thing that we have on TV that we can relate to is not the gangster, when we start to see ourselves differently, then we will start to treat ourselves differently as well. And so that's kind of the theory of change that the Revolt strategy is anchored in.
Wow. So listen, let's be very clear. Hip hop turns 50 this year, and yeah, we all love it. This is a form of music that we have been inspired to grow on. So could you talk and maybe share some specific examples on how you're leveraging hip hop as a lens to explore the Black experience globally and unite change, particularly among millennials and Gen Zs?
Yeah, for me, there is no better platform than hip hop to do what you just said. Hip hop is the number one most streamed, listened to music globally. You find hip hop everywhere, from the street corner to the barbershop to the Michelin star restaurants, right? Like hip hop is everywhere. And not only is the music everywhere, but hip hop has penetrated every fabric of our society. Hip hop is in business, tech, fashion, you name it. And so for us, that's why we love hip hop, because it gives you a platform to be able to come in and talk to the entire world about any subject that you want to talk about. And I think a big piece that you talked about or mentioned that's important from the Revolt standpoint is that we are all about being global. When you think about it, even right now, there's so many conversations that are African Americans against Caribbean, folks from the Caribbean against people, from the continent and the motherland. And it's like, okay, we can either all choose to go to war separately, or we can find a way to come together as a billion people and go to war. You know what I mean? And so the Revolt strategy is to say unification is our only option. If they were going to give us our liberation, if they were going to give us our 40 acres and a mule, it would have happened already, right? And by the way, I've never been in a position of power like, my white brothers and sisters are. And so I don't know what that's like. But what I do know is that if I was in power, I would do everything that I could to hold on to it. I would do everything that I could to maintain it. And so to sit back and wait for somebody to give you power feels like a very flawed strategy. And so to me, it's all about uniting together with allies who come from outside of our community to actually create the change that we want to see happen in this world.
Yeah, that's real. As a best-selling author, how does your writing complement you or your role as a CEO? And with those experiences and how you give insight and shape the narrative of your book.
Yeah, so look, I'll actually take it to it's my agency training days. It's at the age of 26, I joined the agency Global Hue. The CEO of it was Don Coleman, created an iconic business, an iconic brand that's no longer around, but was so impactful at the time. But from Global Hue is where I learned the art of storytelling, whether that is written storytelling, video storytelling, whatever the format. And so now that is a capability and a skill set that I can use in a whole bunch of different mediums, whether I'm speaking on stage, whether I'm writing a book, whether I'm writing a pitch to try to unlock $100 million to get Revolt to go be the Black Disney, which is our ambition. But this notion and this idea of storytelling to me is such a critical capability and skill set. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to learn it at such a young age.
You have a very impressive background. You've done it all in media. You've written, you've been an Amazon bestseller. What's that one thing that God kind of showed you, or that one thing that you accomplished that you were like surprised that you did it, and you had to have like a wow God moment, like, wow God, you did that, huh?
That's my whole life, brother. I mean, every stage, God surprises me. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in Colorado, single parent household. My mom early income, probably $20,000 a year. So I grew up from not much, right? And to go from there to where I am today is all God. And then I'll even say that the dreams that I had of my youth, the dreams of 18-year-old Detavio had, the dreams that 22-year-old Detavio had, at this point in time in my life, so many of them, God has checked all of those boxes. And so what that means is I'm no longer really going off of my dreams. I'm just going where God leads me. And so every time he takes me into a new space, into a new room to meet somebody, I am grateful and like, wow, God, I never could have imagined. His word says that his thoughts, that he dreams, his thoughts, his imaginations are all so much greater than our own. And I feel like I get to feel that and experience that every single day.
How do you think Revolt is adapting to stay in the forefront of technology trends in the media industry?
First and foremost, on the technology part, we're just building the capability, right? So one of the first things I did when I came in as a CEO, hired a CTO. So right now we have a chief technology and product officer. Her name is Chantel. The world will tell you that they can't find people of color to be CTOs. We've got a woman of color doing it. She's a beast and she's crushing it, and she's keeping us on the forefront of all of that. So part of it is just making sure, right, as a leader, my job is not to do all of the work. My job is to put the right butts in the right seats, the best of breed to do the work. And I definitely think that we've done that and found that in Chantel. And then how are we just kind of staying abreast of trends and culture? There's so many different ways. First and foremost, we have a cheat code, which is Sean Combs, right? And so, right, this man has been reading culture, predicting culture, creating culture, manifesting culture for decades. And so we have him too. It's the people, the rest of the employees at Revolt. Yes, we want to hire people for incredible capabilities, but we also hire people who have a specific taste profile, right? A specific lens, who have both feet in the culture so that they can understand what's going on as we're trying to craft the journey to where we want to be a part of helping to take it. So anyway, so much of it. Oh, the last one is just data and insights, right? So we've got a great research team, a great insights team, and we spend a lot of time studying our core audience. We spend a lot of time studying the culture, because at the end of the day, it really isn't what Detavio wants, it's what the culture needs. And you don't understand what the culture needs unless you're having direct conversations with them.
How do you envision the future of Revolt under your leadership, and what key milestones or initiatives are you most excited about as the CEO?
Yeah. The big picture dream, and that I always tell people that you should expect from Revolt is we're trying to build the Black Disney, right? And so, and for me, so much of the strategy is the same. So Disney started with animation. I always say Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and then they started pulling back into things like news. They acquired ABC, ESPN, Marvel, Lucas Pictures, etc. So now you have this incredible media conglomerate. That for me is the dream that Black people deserve. A media conglomerate that can do everything from kids shows to sports to animation, etc. And so right now what you see us building is that first layer. Disney's first layer was the animation layer. Our first layer is like that cool culture, youth culture layer. That's what we're building, right? And so excited to see how we continue to tap into the culture and resonate there. And then when you start to think about, well, what's next to come? You can see a lot of it. We leave a lot of breadcrumbs out there. So super excited about this idea of sports. Super excited about this idea of women. I definitely think that there needs to be a platform to help young Black women lead a revolution. I think that's super exciting. You also see what's happening in this world of streaming. As people are starting to go away from watching cable TV and spending more time streaming, whether it's on YouTube or your Netflix or your Disney, I firmly believe that there needs to be an app for the culture, right? So anyways, those are just some of the things that we're working on that I'm super excited. But then the last one that I'll mention is Revolt World. So we just did Revolt World in the end of September. And when I tell you, brother, it was like watching a rocket ship take off. And so as I step into next year, this was the first year, it was the blueprint. We were finding our way. We were creating an experience that we didn't even know what it was going to really look like because we had never seen it before. But now that we know, I'm super excited about the team's new ideas and fresh ideas about how we take what was a phenomenal event to the next level, and then one day to the rest of the world.
Give me your 3 top MCs of all time, and I'm gonna let you go. It's hip hop, 50 years of hip hop. You got 3 MCs to pick. Who you picking?
Man, these questions always crush me. Look, personally, I'm always gonna be a Lil Wayne fan. I think that he's incredible. He's a beast. He's a monster. I spent so much of my early adult life listening to Jay-Z and breaking down his lyrics, and I want to give him credit. Oh man, like I want to say, like in my mind, I want to say I'm thinking J. Cole, Kendrick. I want to get in Andre 3000. So anyways, I just make a choice for today, and today I'll go with J. Cole. Brilliantly creative, brilliantly innovative, but also just really positive lyrics and a message that I don't think you get to find in a lot of hip hop.
Listen, I appreciate you rocking with us. Please tell the people how they connect with you, follow you on all your social media platforms. Definitely shout out your show too as well. The Black Print, I watch it. It's an amazing show too as well. So yeah, just tell people how to connect with you, follow you, and definitely shout out everything you need to shout out about Revolt.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, please tap into Revolt. You can find us literally anywhere. You can find Revolt Podcasts. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us. You can find us on Roku, Apple, your cable television, YouTube, social media, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Wherever you are, Revolt is. Please come find us. In terms of myself, you can find me. I'm super easy. My name is Detavio, Detavio. My signature on everything, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram is @Detavio. And then last but not least, because my brother DJ Focus asked me to, I would love to just say, please come watch my show, The Black Print. There's where we sit down with the innovators, disruptors, ceiling breakers of the culture, and we have a conversation with them about how they, from beginning to end, how they got from the start to where they are today. Last conversation was with T.I., one before that, Jeezy. They've just been really incredible. So please come check out The Black Print. DJ Focus, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me, King. Always good to see you.
For sure. We got to go to a quick music break. We're coming back with more right now. Kanye West and Jay-Z with Jail. Keep it locked. You're tuning to The Fix. You know The Fix is in.